to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
Well, the Detroit Lions looked towards this season and said, you guys are going to hear me roar. This is the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 and Secret Weapon Consulting. I'm Adam Wright with CJ Medeiros and Justin Tucker. And yes, I used that cheesy line, and I do not regret it because I'm not even a Lions fan, but what an unbelievable offseason this team has had. And yes, I am referring to their recent slew of signings, a lot of them being in their secondary. So their rebuild process overall in the past few years has been nothing short of incredible. This team just a couple of years ago traded away their franchise quarterback, Matthew Stafford, and have used their first round picks very smartly. And in their secondary, that was probably this season the biggest weakness that they had. They've had some pieces, but this offseason they brought in from the 49ers cornerback Emmanuel Mosley. They got cornerback Cam Sutton from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and most recently getting safety CJ Gardner-Johnson. And that's not even it. On the offensive side of the ball, they brought in another running back to pair up with DeAndre Swift after the departure of Jamal Williams in David Montgomery, who is in himself a very good running back who's put up pretty good numbers over the past couple of years, despite being playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in football in the past couple seasons. So all good stuff going on here. But, I mean, how about these Lions?
Oh, man, give me a second. I'm still trying to recover from that pun you started in the beginning. The Lions look pretty good, if I do say so myself. They have a good starting quarterback. They have a myriad of weapons surrounding him. They have a good 1-2 tandem at running back. They have an improving offensive line. Their defense is getting better and stronger. I mean, they look like a nice, well-rounded team right now. I mean, good for them. They look nice. They look really good.
Well then, here's the thing with the Lions. I think that, or at least we all know that defensive backfield was undoubtedly their biggest weakness going into this offseason. And what did they do? They went out and they fixed it. They got Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, and CJ Gardner-Johnson. I mean, you can't be mad at that. This shows that the front office cares and they're actively trying to fix their issues. And if you're a fan, you can't be mad at that. Now, the one thing that I would say is questionable is letting last year's, I believe, rushing touchdown leader, Jamal Williams walk. But then again, you did get David Montgomery, who was literally Chicago's RB1, so you can't complain too much. They also bolstered the line with Broncos guard Graham Glasgow. So once again, that's a pretty underrated signing in and of itself. But here's the big thing, all right?
I know what you're going to mention. I know what you're going to bring up, and I forgot. I haven't brought it up yet.
Oh, can I keep going? Or?
Keep going.
But see, here's the fun part. They have 2 first-round draft picks to play with. One of them literally being in the top 10, and the other one I think is number 18, I want to say.
Yeah. 6 and 18. 6 and 18.
Yeah. So you have 2 top 20 draft picks to play with. This exciting Lions offseason, I think, is far from over. And a lot of Lions fans are slightly concerned that they might not have DJ Chark. But to which I say, don't worry. You have a guy that you drafted who was hurt in Jameson Williams, and he's going to be the electric home run hitter. He's like DJ Chark, but even faster and with better hands.
And you also have Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh yeah,
unbelievable in his own right. Like the list goes on, doesn't it? And they acquired Jared Goff, their quarterback, in a throw-in in the Matthew Stafford deal, and he's looking like a guy who could actually win a Super Bowl for them. Yeah. And I think we've all underrated them, myself being one of those people over the past couple of years. Jared Goff, everyone kind of called him a puppet for Sean McVay. And honestly, he keeps producing everywhere he goes. He's never been a bad quarterback. And he's also been known, he's already taken a team to the Super Bowl. So he has that postseason experience. So, and playing behind one of the most improved offensive lines in the past couple of seasons, and an improved backfield, in my opinion, a very good pass catching corps, and a very improved defense with that secondary. I mean, everywhere you look, this team is improved. And all they really need is to maybe put a little more work into that secondary. And let's say work on that interior defensive line to work on the run defense.
And maybe a tight end.
Yeah, I guess. I guess. And you can literally address those two needs with your first round picks. Go cornerback at 6 and go defensive line at 18. Boom, done.
I wouldn't necessarily go. You could go either or, because Jalen Carter might be available, and it'll be tough to pass up on him. And then at 18, I believe Devin Witherspoon will be there at 18.
No, Devin Witherspoon will not be there at 18. I assure
you. Think he's going to be gone?
Oh, he will be gone. I promise you. Devin Witherspoon, I will be shocked if he falls outside of 10.
Joey Porter's going to be there then. They could take the guy out of Penn State.
I think maybe. I'm not sure. It's possible. More possible than Witherspoon, but I don't know.
Either way.
There's a myriad of where they can go. They can go D-line first or DB second first. It really doesn't matter.
Right. Either way, they have a lot of good things that they can do, and that's a good problem to have. That they have really built up this team so that they've spent a lot of assets, but they also have a lot more at their disposal. And my next question, and we'll cap off the segment with this, what's their ceiling this year? Because I have them winning the division already. Can they go farther than that now?
I would think they can.
I think they can.
Because here's the thing. It's not that they're getting better. Well, although that's a big part of it. It's that their division, especially the so-called top dogs in Green Bay and Minnesota, are getting worse. And I will admit Chicago has improved quite a bit too, but I do think they're a year or two away from making some serious noise. But yeah, also have to think about how the NFC in and of itself is kind of up for grabs. I mean, we know Philly's going to be good. Dallas might be good, but we don't know what San Fran's going to do at quarterback. The Rams are buried in a rebuild. Maybe Seattle with Geno Smith, maybe. And I don't really see anyone from the NFC South competing right away, unless whoever the Panthers take at number 1 just comes in and has a Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes impact.
That's not happening.
I don't see it happening either.
Lions could low-key make the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's what I was leading up to. I 100% agree with Tuck. I would say that is, sky's the limit for them. I would say definitely if they play their cards right and everything falls how it should, perhaps an NFC Championship berth is in their future.
Yeah. Man, because I think they'll be the winners of their division, so they'll probably get an NFC South team or an NFC East team, one or the other, and then they'll go to the divisional round. I assume they'll face either a team like the Cowboys, who are allergic to prosperity, they'll lose, and then Detroit will be there in the NFC Championship game. That's all.
Yeah, I think the only teams that really stick out to me as teams that could be a threat to the Lions in the playoffs. I mean, there's whoever comes out of the NFC East, which has actually turned into a pretty good division in the past couple of years, and whoever comes out of the AFC West, which will probably be the 49ers. But with the quarterback problems they are having, I don't know what their ceiling is. It just doesn't feel like a stable team to me if they keep on having a revolving door at quarterback. And I'm sorry. So I've had a lot of respect for the 49ers as an organization. They They are a very professional organization, which makes very good decisions with their franchise.
Yeah.
But there's something odd about their quarterback situation. Have you noticed how they're always getting hurt in the past few years? They are always getting hurt.
Yeah. They just are injury stricken at quarterback right now. They just have bad luck at that spot.
But is there a point where we stop saying that it's bad luck and that maybe it's just bad coaching, bad training staff? Don't mind Doug in the background.
Dougie.
Possible.
I mean, at some point we have to look to tell this 49ers team to look in the mirror and say, you guys got to figure something out.
But because that's not fair, because some of these are like in-game injuries. It's not like they're happening off the field or in workouts. These are happening like on the field. Trey Lance got injured on the field. Brock Purdy got injured in the NFC Championship game. Jimmy G got injured on the field. At some point in time, I can't blame them for the injuries that are happening.
Well, practice makes perfect, and the way that you practice off the field is how you're going to play on it.
That sounds like one of the players, is it not?
But if there's so many players at that position who are getting hurt, and not just that position, this is just the team in general. Now that I'm thinking about it, like George Kittle is always in and out of the lineup. Deebo Samuel gets hurt. Brandon Ayuk, that he doesn't count because he hardly gets snaps.
Joey Bosa was hurt all his second year.
Joey Bosa.
Nick Bosa
has been hurt. Sorry. Yeah, excuse me, Jesus, Nick. Yeah, we both botched that one. Nick Bosa. I mean, like this has kind of been an issue. Injuries. You have to look at something within that organization. I don't know if it's the coaching, the training staff, maybe the front office is picking players who might have the talent but are injury prone. But they have to take a good look in the mirror. But I mean, we're going off topic. This is about the Lions. I see this team being a contender, actually. This Detroit Lions team. They don't have many flaws. They really don't, if any. So I can see them in the NFC Championship, possibly the Super Bowl. Their quarterback's already gotten there once.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. All right. We're going to change gears, and we're going to move on from one team who has improved this offseason to another. So we are going to talk about another NFC team, which we haven't really touched on very much this offseason, which will be the Cowboys, team that's kind of flown under the radar this offseason, but has made plenty of moves, whether you like them or not. That's next. This is the Fumblerooski podcast.
Way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 and Secret Weapon Consulting. Adam Wright, CJ Medeiros, Justin Tucker. So the Dallas Cowboys. All right, stay with me now. This team, so they've had their share of departures. So Ezekiel Elliott, most notably, he was released. Noah Brown was let go in free agency, being their number 3 wide receiver. And Dalton Schultz, he's probably the biggest one out there. But for additions, in the secondary, they brought in Stephon Gilmore, which is actually a very underrated move for them because now they have a second corner opposite Trevon Diggs. They now have another wide receiver who's arguably a 2-3, which isn't mentioned in a bad way. It is more so it speaks to the depth that they now have at the wide receiver position. Because now they not only have the CeeDee Lamb, their superstar wide receiver 1, but they also have Brandon Cooks now. And they have Michael Gallup. So that's a trio of wide receivers that is pretty good. Now they did let Dalton Schultz go, and I'll admit they have some work to do at the tight end position to replace to some extent that position. But they've also they've kept their front 7 intact, bringing back Leighton Vander Esch, and they just brought back Dante Fowler Jr. This morning. So I gotta say, this is probably the most well-rounded this Cowboys team has been in recent memory.
Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't. Just don't, please.
Why not?
You know why. You know why. They look good on paper. In the beginning of the season, they look very good. But we all know what happens. Don't do this, Adam. We know what's going to happen.
I did not. You were on this show during the preseason.
Yeah.
And you know that I did not talk up this Cowboys team like I am now. I did not.
You did.
They had a good season, but I said, and I quote, I believe this Cowboys team can at best stay the same, which is not a good thing because the season prior they were a first-round exit.
Adam.
They lost Amari Cooper, and they only stayed the same at most places. And they kind of did. This year, they added to that defense, which I feel was a little bit inflated in their numbers. I feel like they played some bad competition. And now they they got better. They were a good front 7 team. They kept all those boys together, and now they improved in the secondary. I think that's important. And they also brought in a legitimate number 2 wide receiver, which is something they didn't have last year. Michael Gallup has been a solid wide receiver, but I think Brandon Cooks, at his best, is a pretty good receiver. He's fallen off this past season, but I feel like that's part of a lot of that has to do with him suffering from bad quarterback syndrome, because Davis Mills is just not it. Davis Mills is the worst quarterback that Brandon Cooks has had to deal with in his whole career. He started with Drew Brees, then he went to Tom Brady, then he went to Jared Goff, like the good Jared Goff, the one that we were talking up last segment. And then he from that to Davis Mills, and we're all upset at him because he declined a little bit this season. Of course he is. Like I'm just saying. And yeah, he had one good year with Davis Mills, his first season in as a Houston Texan, but his next year, it's bad enough that he had to work with Davis Mills a second year. Then the offensive line got worse, and then Davis Mills did not have time to throw, which makes things worse for him. So of course he's going to decline a little bit. I think so. So he's 29 right now, right? Brandon Cooks is 29. That's not that old. He can still reach a high level. And to pair him up with CeeDee Lamb, who's going to draw a lot of attention in coverage by opposing defenses, that's pretty good. I think Dak Prescott is, as much as we do not believe that he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, he's a Pro Bowl level, not Super Bowl. He's better than Davis Mills, and he's around the same level as Jared Goff, I would say.
He's going to do it to himself. He's setting himself up for failure, and I can't do this. I almost am sure of this. Last year, during preseason, you predicted the Dallas Cowboys to go to the NFC Championship game, and me and CJ laughed at you horrendously for doing that. And you were fully on board until they lost to the Washington Commanders in the season finale, and you were like, "This bum team is horrible. They lost to the Jaguars. They're losing to the Commanders now. I don't believe in this team. They're not going anywhere." And now we get to the offseason. They make a nice few additions, but it's the Cowboys. They're going to mess it up like always. I have no faith in this team. Every time I'm thinking on paper they look good, let's see what they do. They fail horrendously. So why am I getting my hopes up this year? It's the Cowboys, and that will be my answer until they should prove me otherwise. They haven't made the NFC Championship game since 1996.
It's just not
Nothing's changed.
it's not an analytical argument though. There's
Yeah.
no, like I get it. There's something wrong with this team in the past couple of years. I agree. And I'm not even making any predictions right now. I'm just saying that this team has improved its roster from this past season to this year. That's all.
Y'all can
And
say
I'm not
it's analytical. It just won't change. It's been this way since the 90s. It'll continue to be this way because that's who they are. I'm sorry if it doesn't sound like there's no data to back it up. Only like 4 playoff wins since 1996, but that's just who they are currently. I'm not saying that's how they'll always will be for the rest of our lives, but that's who they are now.
Adam,
what's up?
I'm going to jump in here. I think this little debate with you and Tucker, I think this is a classic case of two things being true at once. Adam, you are correct. They did bolster their roster, and Diggs and Cooks are notable additions. Tucker, I do agree with you that I don't know how much it's going to translate. However, I do also agree with Adam that your argument's not very, backed up by numbers. But what I can tell you,
numbers are there.
Yeah, but hear me out.
Okay.
I am inclined to agree with Justin that I'm not high on them for two reasons. One, Adam briefly mentioned this, Dak. He's a good Pro Bowl quarterback. Like you said, he's not going to win you anything because, he's got a good arm, decent accuracy. He's a mobile guy. He can read a defense okay. But see, that's the thing. He's just not clutch. If you're relying on Dak to make the game-saving play, you're in trouble. And a lot of it, I truly believe, comes down to coaching. Mike McCarthy is not a good coach. He is not even a good game manager. His play calling is questionable, and his decisions are even more questionable. And he's so bad that even Aaron Rodgers carried him to one Super Bowl. And even still, in Rodgers, who in and of himself is a top 10 quarterback of all time, couldn't carry him to any more. And it's getting to the point where Dak sure as hell ain't going to carry him to a Super Bowl. So, yeah, long story short, both things are true at once. They did improve, but I don't see that. I don't see them making any serious noise.
I'm not even saying that they're going to make any serious noise or not. I'm just saying that their roster has improved. That's all.
Yes.
And this team,
that is correct.
And another thing that can still be true at once is that this team could be better than last year's team.
It's
that's still a possibility. They could go from what did they finish 12-5 this past season, and go from that to let's say 13-4, 14-2, 14-3.
I don't know. Because, see, here's the thing. The most recent NFC champions, the Eagles, are still in their division. And I know that they lost some guys on their roster. They lost some coaches. But you have to remember, the Giants have been out here making moves. The Giants have improved. So it's not even a Cowboys thing. So they're also in a very tough division. And so I don't know. I don't know if I see them winning 13 or 14 games.
I don't think the Eagles are going to be as good as they were last year.
Probably not, but they're still going to be good is my point. I'm not saying who's going to come out on top. I'm only saying that their division is hard.
Yeah, their division has come a long way. And I remember that. I'm old enough to remember a few years ago when the NFC East was the butt of all NFL jokes.
That included the Cowboys.
Yeah. But at least the Cowboys were the teams that were coming on top in that division.
They were not.
2014, 2016, 2018.
When you're talking about the NFC East being the butt of the jokes, I think of 2015 and I think of 2020. They were horrible. Oh, I'm sorry, 2019. They were horrible those 3 years. And they were never once division champs. When they were competitive, yes, they were division champs. But never once when the division was horrible within itself, were the Cowboys like clear-cut favorites, and they actually succeeded.
Never. They were good in 2014.
But
they were good in 2016.
But I want to say the division was more competitive because the Eagles were good that year.
Which year?
2014. And then 2016.
Were they?
2014.
Yeah, they finished 10-6 and missed out on the playoffs. But they were still competitive.
I think so. I think the Eagles were bad that year.
In 2014, they missed the playoffs, but they still went 10-6. 2016 was Carson Wentz's first year.
CJ, can you look this up?
Yeah.
So
2014 we're talking, right?
2014.
Yes.
I know the Cowboys finished 12-4. I'm not sure. I thought the Eagles. I know the Eagles missed out on the playoffs, but I'm not sure by how much. I don't even remember they had
at the time after they faced off in Thanksgiving, and then they lost like 3 out of their next 4, and that's why they missed the playoffs.
Because I know the Cowboys started off red hot, and Tony Romo had a career year that season.
All right,
but
I have results.
Yeah.
Tucker is correct. The Philadelphia Eagles did, in fact, go 10-6 in 2014, but they did miss the playoffs.
Okay, so yeah, so Tuck was right on that one. 2016, they were still a good team, and I know for a fact the Eagles were not good that year.
I want to say they were 8-8 or 7-9, though.
What year? 16?
Yeah.
2016. Are we looking that one up too?
That.
I mean, it really doesn't matter. We're talking about the Cowboys. And the Cowboys, I'm just saying that the Cowboys have been relevant in terms of being competitive in the regular season the past couple of years. They have. They've been a solid team. And they've been in and out of the playoffs. They've had some competitive seasons. They've been the butt of all jokes because they don't cash in the postseason. And rightfully so. I'm not trying to defend them for that. But I'm just saying every dog has its day. And eventually, I'm not even saying it's going to be next year. I'm not saying it's going to be in 5 years, not even 10 years. Eventually, they got to break through. And for a team that's been this competitive for this long, they've got to break through at some point. And I don't think Dak Prescott is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But how many quarterbacks have we seen win a Super Bowl and not be considered Super Bowl winning quarterbacks?
I think they were considered Super Bowl winning quarterbacks when they won that. So I don't
when they won it. But as far as talent goes, like Eli Manning was never that much. Joe Flacco wasn't all that.
He was in the playoffs.
Trent Dilfer wasn't all that. I'm just saying, wasn't. And there's some quarterbacks who are some of the greatest of all time who never even won one. I mean, Dan Marino is worlds better than Dak Prescott, but he only made it to one in his second year, and he never even sniffed it again for his whole career. Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, it's not all black and white. A quarterback could be considered not that great, but still make it because there's so much talent on that team.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I'm not making any predictions. I'm not a Cowboys fan. I'm not even a delusional troll, let's go Cowboys, Skip Bayless guy. I'm just saying, like, they have a chance. They have a chance at some point. It gotta come through at some point. But I do want to move on.
I want to say one more thing before we go,
up?
And that's it. Kirk Cousins better. All right, I'm done.
Oh boy, we're not doing this. No, we're not doing this.
I hate that you said that, but you might be right.
We can move on.
Thank you. You know what? He's better than Kirk Cousins.
No. We are not doing this now.
All right. So we're going to change gears, and we are going to go on to our Fumblerooski fan box. We're going to dip into some draft coverage where we asked you guys who some of the most underrated defensive backs in this 2022 NFL draft are. We are officially starting up on our draft coverage as we transition into from free agency as it begins to settle down. That's next. This is the Fumblerooski podcast.
Here's Edelman broken up, and the pass is no sign yet. Edelman comes down with a football. They're saying it's a catch. It's caught! Diggs!
This is the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 and Secret Weapon Consulting. Adam Wright with CJ Medeiros and Justin Tucker. We welcome you to the Fumblerooski fan box part of our show. We post a question filter on our Instagram every Monday, and you can respond with hot takes, questions, and more, and we will discuss it and give you a shout out on our podcast. Respond to next week's fan box question to be featured on our show. All right, so the question of the week was, who are the most underrated defensive backs in this draft class? Notice how I said defensive backs, because I feel like there's a lot of both cornerbacks and safeties in this class, and I just can't exclude one and include the other. I just want to hear what you guys had to say. And for our first response, Floodster Sports Zone said Brian Branch.
Oh,
Yeah.
DB out of Alabama. I like him. He may not be the fastest guy, but he's good.
Yeah, Justin's right. Brian Branch, like Chuck said, not the fastest, but he can literally do it all. You could plug and play him anywhere on the field. He plays corner, he plays safety. Great versatile guy, bona fide first-round pick.
He would
Kinda like-
flourish in other systems more so than others. Like I wouldn't put him in like a cover 3, like single high, but he's
Yeah.
good.
Kind of like a Daxton Hill of this year.
No,
He's better than Daxton Hill. Much
Better than Dax Hill?
Absolutely.
He's better, but he's not as fast as Daxton Hill.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
He's got better ball skills though.
I'm just saying the caliber, like the style of play that he kind of has.
Oh.
All right, so we got 3 votes for the exact same player. Jad Noman said DJ Turner, along with Owen Van Slack, who also said DJ Turner. And he said Bro ran a 4.26 for a 40-yard dash. Owen, and so did Ian Mulhern. So 3 DJ Turner votes. Can you tell he was the popular choice?
Yeah, but unfortunately, he wasn't fast enough to catch the TCU wide receiver, so I just don't know.
Yeah. All jokes aside, he's fast, but I'm not the world's biggest DJ Turner guy. I mean, he's a great man-to-man corner. Let's not beat around the bush. But he constantly gets beat in zone. His cuts, when chasing receivers, and his back pedal, leaves a lot to be desired. And with his playing style, he's very handsy and he can draw quite a few flags.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I can name quite a few corners that I believe are better than him. But, I'm not going to get into that here. But I wouldn't know if I'd take him first round, Turner. I would say late second, early third rounder.
Yeah. Yeah. And he feels like the type of player who's kind of only built up hype from the combine.
Absolutely.
Kind of in the way that we kind of picked it apart a couple weeks ago when the combine was happening. We looked at players
You are correct.
Whose combine stock went through the roof because of whose draft stock went through the roof because of the combine. And DJ Turner feels like that type of player. Eli Turner, one of our show fans, responded by saying me.
I'm not responding to that.
No,
Show me the tape, then we'll talk.
It's not worth my time. Not worth my time, man. Come on. I admire the confidence, but you definitely said that as a joke. Brian Mucker also responded with a joke saying, and he half of this wasn't a joke because because knowing Brian Mucker, when he says Sauce Gardner, he probably actually believes Sauce Gardner, even though he's been in the league for a year already. He's also a diehard Jets fan, so he was probably looking for some reason to bring up. He always looks for an excuse to bring up his Jets. Have a conversation with him anytime. He also mentioned his roommate Andrew Coyne, so that was one thing. So another one that we are not giving any attention to. Nick Reyes said Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think he misread. And probably so is Jahmyr Gibbs is a running back.
Yep.
I said defensive back. And I'll address this guy since since he mentioned a player who's actually in the draft class. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's not going to be a first-round pick, but we're reaching a day and age, and thank God for this. We are reaching a day and age where running backs are not taken in the first round. They rarely are now. And when they are, it's like they actually deserve it now. Like, for example, Bijan Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Slam dunk first-round pick. I don't think he should be taken in the top half, not fourth overall like Leonard Fournette or Saquon Barkley before him. But if he goes in the back half and goes to Buffalo, I think that's a great pick for the Buffalo Bills. But again, we're talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. He's probably a second-round pick.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll go in the first round if someone needs a running back and gets stupid for one. Eagles. That number 30 pick. I better not see Jahmyr Gibbs there. All right. So that's about all for our responses. Any other thoughts before we end the show tonight?
Nope.
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening to us. We have new episodes out on Tuesdays and Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have all our episodes available on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, and so much more. We also be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Over and out.